Hey everybody, this is Freddy with Leviathan Scuba.com. So this video is just for the guys, or maybe not. It's really about mustaches. How do you dive with a mustache? We'll get to that in just a minute. So one of the common questions I get all the time when newer divers or people are buying a mask that we've taken the time to fit it just right to their face is, what do you do with a mustache? My mask leaks, Freddy, when I'm diving and it's coming right through my mustache. How do you stop it? So we're going to get into that a little bit. And it's not hard. It's really pretty easy. And there's a few different steps you can do to make it work really right. Okay, so first I want to start with, there's a couple different kinds of mustaches, right? You've got the really big, bushy, thick ones. And you've got the really thin, 2 or 3 vacation days of growth where it's kind of stubbly and maybe even pokey, a little more firm. And then everybody's hair is a little different. Some is really fine and soft, some is really thick and dense. And it almost doesn't matter what kind, okay? Now the super big and bushy ones, it's going to leak a little more than the really small, thin ones. But even the little pokery, 4 or 5 days of growth ones, they can leak water too. So what the heck do you do? Well, first of all, the easiest answer is you can shave it off. If your gal is used to you wearing a mustache for 20-some years and you're not going to shave it off, we'll cover that. But the easiest thing to do is just shave the mustache off, get it baby smooth. Mask will seal just right as long as you have a mask that fits. Remember, check that video out. But it will seal right to your skin, and I'm going to show you some of the parts of the mask that's kind of made. They thought about this ahead of time, and it'll seal really, really well without a mustache. The next thing you can do is, if you're not going to shave the whole thing off because it's just part of who you are, and you haven't shaved it off in 20 years, you can shave about 1/4 of an inch down from the nose, okay? And it doesn't look funny, really. That's what I do. I shave about 1/4 of an inch down from my nose. That way the mask seal, the skirt, will form closer to your nose and it will sit on skin, and therefore it seals a whole lot better, okay? And after 3 or 4 or 5 days of growth, the color, starts to fill back in, and nobody's even going to notice it on your face, right? So it doesn't look funny or anything. And then it looks totally normal just in a few days of growth, and you still have your mustache, okay? The next thing you can do is put some goop on it. And what I mean by goop is there are numerous products you can buy that are meant for masks, but I want to caution you ahead of time from choosing some of the products that's probably going to be harmful to your mask. For example, a lot of times people will use Vaseline. They'll just goop up their mustache with some Vaseline. Sometimes people use Vicks, the Vapo Rub, the kind that has the menthol in it that helps open up your sinuses. They think that's healthy for diving, and maybe they have a little bit of congestion, so they try to use that. That's still Vaseline. Others use chapstick because they see other people putting something on that's in a chapstick tube, and they think it's chapstick. My caution in that is, I want you to avoid petroleum products. Most modern masks, good quality masks, are made out of silicone. Petroleum eats silicone. So you just spent $100 on a really nice mask and you put Vaseline on it. Your next trip you're looking at and the edges are starting to shred, or maybe little pinholes in it, things like that. So petroleum products, really bad for silicone. You never want to use it. So there are products that are made for it though. For example, you have a product called Mask Seal. This one happens to be by Trident. There's numerous other products out there. These are silicone based, so they're really going to work good on your mustache, and they're not going to harm the mask in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so when you goop up with one of these, it's going to last you usually a couple of dives. If you're doing your dives in a row, maybe 3. Then you have to kind of re-goop it up there, right? So you just open the cap and you smear a little bit on, push it in a little bit when you put your skirt on the mask or on your face, and it seals pretty good, okay? Another product you can do if you don't have access to Mask Seal is, there's numerous kinds, like beeswax, for example. Burt's Bees sells a product that doesn't have any petroleum in it. It's beeswax, and it comes in a tube similar to the chapstick tube, and that works really good too. Beeswax, oftentimes you can get them with a really nice scent, and you know, it smells good going on. Same thing though, you need to get the softer ones so it'll kind of fill in the gaps in between the mustache. So that's the goop that you can put on. Personally, I don't like it, personally, for me. I don't like the goopy stuff on my face. So, and I'm not bothered by a little water in my mask, so that's not a huge deal. But it does work. I know people that take an improper fitting mask and they'll put a product on their face that's soft and sticky like that, and they use it to help their mask seal. You don't need that at all if you have a proper fitting mask. So here's another strategy you can do. I'm going to say anyone can do this, but it's harder for a newer diver. A newer diver is thinking about everything else. Is this sealed? Is it fit? My tanks, this, that. They're just thinking about too much to just focus on pressurizing your mask. So here's how I explain that. If we were in a submarine and I opened up the hatch of the submarine and we looked down at the water, it's not filling the submarine with water. Why? Because the submarine is pressurized, right? So what if you did that with your mask? What if you put that mask on your face and you pushed air out of your nose just a tiny bit? Because the reason why a lot of times it leaks is your sinuses are closed, you're breathing through your mouth, and you're inhaling and exhaling, but as you descend in the water, the pressure puts the mask on your face harder. The air inside the mask starts to shrink a little bit. So it's creating a vacuum inside the mask, which is going to suck water right up through the mustache. What if you could pressurize that mask a little bit, right? Just put a little bit of pressure. Now, you can't put much. It's sitting on your face. You pressurize it, I don't know, a couple of ounces or half a pound or something worth of pressure, and it's going to bubble out anyway, right? But if you pressurize your mask, it will actually take water that's in your mask and use your mustache like a purge valve and push the water down through the mustache back out of the mask. This takes practice because the hardest thing about it is just remembering to do it. So you're getting a little water in your mask, you clear your mask, you get it out, and then you just kind of force a little bit of air through your nose into, not blowing bubbles, not, you know, blowing hard, just exhaling through your nose just a tiny bit to pressurize the mask. No harm if some of the bubbles come out, if you over pressurize, no big deal, doesn't hurt anything. But now your mask is pressurized and there's no vacuum in it. And it'll either stop the water from coming in or it can actually force some of the water back out just a little bit. Takes practice, give it a try. You might want to practice in really shallow water when you're not doing anything else so you can concentrate and focus on what you're doing. But it's a great skill to have, and after you do it for quite a while, it kind of becomes normal. I just use my throat muscles and I force through my sinuses a little bit of air out my nose, just enough to pressurize the mask. It works good. I'll tell you where this probably ends up. With more experience and more dives, you're going to see a lot of the videos of us diving, and you'll see a little bit of water in the mask. It usually seems like the newer the diver, the more the water inside the mask bugs them. Like a mask should be dry. Well, every mask made has a giant hole in it, and you're sealing that with your face. And I've never seen a mask leak. It's the faces that leak. So you're going to get water in it a little bit sometimes. So now we're talking about how to get it out. Okay? So if you pressurize your mask just a touch, you're going to keep the water out. But you can also get used to just a little bit of water in your mask. If you don't have to drain it all the time, you know, a quick touch to the forehead, exhale through your nose, the water drains, you're ready to go. Now, if you have a poor fitting mask and it's filling up every 60 seconds or something, it's going to drive you crazy. I hate that. So get the mask that fits properly first. We have videos for that. And then there are some products on the market where the designers and the engineers, maybe they have mustaches, maybe they're just trying to make them better for human faces, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, but this is a Tusa Freedom Elite. We also have a Freedom HD, which it's a little bit easier to see, okay? But they have a little teeny strip under the nose that's much thinner silicone than the rest of the silicone around the skirt, okay? Why? Well, it does a couple things. For any human wearing it that doesn't have a mustache, it kind of conforms a little easier to that cleft in your lip, okay? But for those of us with mustaches that choose not to shave them off, it's a lot thinner silicone. It's a lot more flexible. Therefore, it's going to kind of follow the ridges a little bit more so than just a good thick piece of silicone. So sometimes the equipment that you choose can help with that, okay? And then there are divers, they dive with full face masks. They have to deal with not just the mustache because it doesn't touch the mustache, but sometimes their beard comes up a little high where the mask is trying to seal. They have the same challenge with a full face mask, exaggerated a little bit because there's a lot more hair. A lot of commercial divers, they think they can do it in the beginning, then they just shave it off at some point. So in closing, let me encourage you just a little bit because it's not as hard as it might seem. And if you've tried it and it leaked and you just had trouble, it just takes a little getting used to, a little experience, a little practice, and it gets easier and easier over the time. But really, ultimately, what's going to probably happen for most of you is you just kind of get used to it a little bit. Like I mentioned, if you see our videos with the little water in there, why aren't we just pushing it out? It's because it just doesn't bother us anymore. You get used to a little bit of water in there. If it's a little too much, you just hit the top of your mask, exhale through your nose, and it's gone. So usually you're gonna just get a little more used to it. Now, I wouldn't put up with it though. In the beginning, you do want a mask that seals well. And in a previous video, I mentioned 95% of the users out there are wearing a mask that honestly leaks and it doesn't fit them properly. So we have a couple videos on how to fit a mask properly, how to know, and then another video that just came out recently, your mask is too tight. And when you wear a mask too tight, you actually make it leak, okay? So you think tightening it on your face with a mustache is gonna help? It's gonna make it worse, I promise. Alrighty? So I hope this video has helped you in some way. Have fun practicing and make it a great day. You know, the difference between a new diver and an experienced diver is often the tips and tricks they learn along the way. That's why we do this, make you a better diver. You know, if you can think of somebody else that might benefit from these tips and tricks, why don't you share it with them? And you know how you can help us? Hit that like button. And if you want to be notified when the next one comes out, hit the subscribe button. Make it a great day.